Yeah. Hey. Hey. Well, yeah. Goonies never say die. You know what time it is. We got horror suspense. Listen, Kevin Trav digging in the bin. Dirty Dancing and Encino Man. You never know what you'll find in Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. He's got all these flicks from way back when. Marty McFly in the DeLorean. Gotta love the Cajun, whatever he's in. Face off Snake Guys, you know it's a win. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, Uncle Doug's bin. What's in the bin? Yeah, let's begin.
Welcome to Uncle Doug's DVD Bin, the podcast where we take your favorite movies, give you some facts, tell you the plot in an hour, maybe more or less, and there might even be a few jokes along the way. I'm your host, Kevin.
And I'm your host, Travis. And if the last episode was any precedent, it's probably going to go a little bit longer than an hour. We've learned how to have a little bit of fun around here, and Doug evidently doesn't care if we meander a little past 60 minutes.
I don't think Doug cares as long as he gets his hot dogs on time for dinner and that his 1978 C10 Chevy pickup is fully gassed up, which, boy, let me tell you, how about that cost of gas right now, Travis?
Boy, it is skyrocketing, and it's really going up, which, you know, it kind of makes me a little bit jealous about the guy wielding the old chainsaw in this movie that we're about to cover. He had a lot of gas in that thing. I mean, it ran solid for about 45 minutes. I've never had a chainsaw run that long without giving out.
Yeah, I mean, he was just burning gas like a crazy man, and, well, definitely like a crazy man. And also, you know, if I remember correctly, if you're mixing up that chainsaw gas, as we say here in the South, you got to put a little additive in there. You got to put a little oil in it, and to make it work right in the engine. So he was doing double duty there with that chainsaw.
I know, and we're talking about we're right in the thick of the gas crisis, right in the midst of the Carter administration, and he doesn't care. He's out there in the middle of Texas. That's oil country. You know, we'll rev this thing all day long and chase women, men, whoever wants to run from it. We'll chase them.
You know, I've heard it said that Texas Chainsaw Massacre might be the most accurate depiction of Texas of all time, which I disagree with, Travis. I think the most accurate depiction of Texas is Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
All right, let me tell you, when the eyes of the Ranger are upon you, any wrong you do, he's going to see.
I know, and it's a big state, so you imagine he's got eyes all over the place. It's pretty incredible.
It's Chuck Norris, man. You can see anywhere and everywhere. And then recently, now, Trav, I know we've talked about this off air, but both your lovely wife and my lovely wife love the film Supernatural. Well, the actor that played Sam on Supernatural is the new Walker, Texas Ranger. And I'm going to tell you, that show is awful.
Oh, man. Well, thanks for telling me that, because I was like, man, it feels like it should be good, but I don't know. But thanks for clearing that up. It's awful. I will be sure to let my wife know.
Well, what you want out of a Walker, Texas Ranger show, and maybe, listen, times have changed. Maybe I'm a little bit of a dinosaur over here, but what I want out of a Walker, Texas Ranger show is Walker, Texas Ranger, wheel kicking, roundhouse kicking some fools back into next week. In this one, he just gets in touch with his feelings and is real sad a lot, and I don't like that as much.
That's what that's Supernatural, basically. Now it's Supernatural with karate, so that's cool. They really didn't. They didn't have to grow the character much. Just a lot of bros tearing up and kicking some demons up. But you know what?
Not
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is what we're here for. I just wanted to change the subject back to Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, that was good. We had a little awkward moment there. I'm leaving that in too. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, we locked eyes. It was like, do you want to have a moment right here? Do you want to have a Sam and Dean right here?
God, oh man, which one are you? Are you? I feel like you're more of a Dean.
I'm very Dean. Dean all day.
You're very Dean.
Team Dean.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Sam.
Yeah.
Like I come across sort of rough and gruff, but really, man, I got that soft interior. You know, I'm also, on the show, Sam is a vegetarian and a vegan, even maybe. And I actually, my friend, let me tell you, I'm a vegan.
Wow. And I knew that because only a vegan would find a way to fit that into a conversation in the middle of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre episode.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Travis, about being vegan because you brought it up. Let's just pretend that you did it because I don't want to be a stereotype talking about a stereotype. That's like a stereotype inception. But what we've got here is actually this film is on the PETA website, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as being like a movie that advocates for animal rights somehow because the people in the movie are sort of treated like meat or like animals, and it's supposed to be off-putting and upsetting to make you think about. This is the reason even us vegans don't like PETA, because they just get off on these weird tangents. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't like it. Anyway, totally want to change the subject, and I'm going to tell you how I ruined Christmas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is changing the subject back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by the way, right?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
For sure. At some point. Yeah, definitely. So it was my mom. I feel like I've talked about my mom a lot on this podcast, so I think we need to bring her on as a guest at some point, but that's something to look forward to in the future. But she saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre on a date with my dad, right? And I'm sure my dad like dragged her to it and was like, oh, this is a scary movie. I'm going to, scare my date or whatever, because that's how people were in the 70s. And so she goes and sees this movie in the theater, and she just has like a panic attack. And so it creates this phobia in her mind surrounding Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So we have this conversation right around Halloween, right? Like my mom, and this was probably circa 2002, 2003, somewhere in that neighborhood. We have this conversation around Halloween. We're probably talking about scary movies or whatever, and that's literally the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Fog are the only two horror movies my mother has ever seen. Both terrify her, and she has this mortifying dread of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? And she tells me about it at Halloween, and I think to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to help my mom. I was like, Mom, you need to just watch this movie again. I've seen it. I feel like, it's kind of campy. You might even get a few laughs out of it. You need to watch it again. And she's like, no, I don't want to watch it. And we kind of go back and forth. So I decide I'm going to get her a copy of, to help her overcome her fear of this movie, I'm going to get her a copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre for Christmas. Are you with me so far, Trav?
I mean, I'm with you on the story. I'm following the story. I'm not with your decision to get your mother the DVD. I think that might have been a poor choice.
This was like early 20s me. Like, I think, hey, you've got to confront the things that scare you, and that way you can move forward. Now, 40-year-old me knows, like, hey, you just got to ignore the things and just push them down and just pretend they're not there. That's the best way to get through life, right,
Exactly,
Trav?
100%. In fact, I thought this movie was going to have snakes in it. I found a website that showed me that it didn't.
You did. You were like, hey, pause the movie. I got to check this website really quick to make sure there's no snakes in it. Because there's a scene where it sounds like there's a rattlesnake. But anyway, we're getting too far afield from how I ruined Christmas. So now my mom doesn't have a DVD player, right? So she sells a VCR. So I find a VHS copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wrap it in some nice, pretty, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer wrapping paper, and I put it on the tree.
Did you find it in Doug's VCR bin? VHS bucket? Is that where you found
VHS bucket. You know what? If we ever do a spinoff podcast of this, Doug's VHS bucket is 100% there. No, man, I think I got it at Kmart. I can't guarantee that, but I'm about 99.9% sure I got it at Kmart. And so I wrapped it up, and my mom, so comes Christmas morning, she goes to tear the wrapping paper off, and she tears it off the back at first. And it's sort of this black cover, and there's some words on it. She's like, what is this? Why did you get me a VHS tape? I don't ever watch movies. So she flips it over, and she tears off the wrapping paper on the front. And that's when she sees Leatherface holding the chainsaw over little Sally. And for a second, like, she sort of, like, her hands, like, shaking, and I'm like, she's overcome with emotion. She's, like, so touched that I'm going to help her watch this movie and get over it. That she's just overcome with emotion. Well, she just starts screaming, but like it's this breathless screaming, like you imagine someone trying to scream in deep space where there's no oxygen, just like and she throws the VHS tape across the room and takes off running down the hallway and locks herself in the bathroom. And
Oh no.
And so I picked up the VHS tape and I was like, I don't like, what do you do at that point? Like, does Hallmark sell the card for this occasion? Like, how do I properly apologize for this? So I just took it out in my car and put it in my car. And then I just came back in and this was a little lesson that I instilled for older Kevin. I just tried to pretend like it didn't happen.
Did that say from Kevin on it? Who played a prank on me, Kevin, and gave you that nasty movie? I wonder who did that. Because I
was like, it's my cousin.
Because, Mom, I didn't get you anything for Christmas.
And like, she was like just cold, chilly, and distant for the rest of Christmas. And like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I thought I'd done a good thing. You ever do that, Travis? You ever think like, man, I did a good thing. I'm helping something. I'm trying to make the situation better, and you just end up making it that much worse.
I mean, I'm having trouble finding a parallel with your story, but I'm sure I've felt that at some point in my life, man. Tough. Has she forgiven you at all? Have you guys even spoke about this? Is this still something you're both just pushing down, compressing into your emotional depths?
So I actually texted my mom and I was like, hey Mom, we're recording a podcast episode on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was thinking about telling that Christmas story. And she just texted back and said, no.
And that's the last thing she said to you in 3 weeks. That's tough, dude.
Yeah, Trav. I think I'm pretty much grounded here, but
that's tough.
Yeah, man, that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre in my life. It's had a huge imprint, a huge impression, a huge impact. That's the word I was grappling for there in my life. I'll tell you that, buddy.
It sounds like it's had its hooks sunk deep into. I tried to watch this movie as a young lad, probably about 13, 14. I had my cousin over, and we rented this movie. We're going to be tough. He's like, you want to rent this? I was like, yeah, of course I do. And then I think I watched not much of it, mostly through my fingers, making jokes the whole time to defend my fragile emotions, because it was horrifying. And in this rewatch that I just did with you, I realized I didn't really remember a whole lot. So this was almost like a first time for me. And, overall, we'll talk about it, but I was still pretty impressed, given that it is from 1974.
Yeah, it was Tobe Hooper's first movie. There's a lot of like iconic shots and scenes in it, and you can see the influence he's had. I know you watch a lot of horror movies, Trav, and so do I. And so like you can see a lot of the influence he's had on movies over the years. Now, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre originally came out on October 1st, 1974. Obviously, Halloween season, fall, the perfect time to watch a good scary movie. Tobe Hooper directed it. It was written by Kem Hinkle and Tobe Hooper, and it stars Marilyn Burns, Edwin Neal, Ellen Danziger, and of course, Leatherface himself, Gunnar Hansen. Wow, what in this cast, you're IMDbing this, and you found a little breadcrumb, a little something that leads back to a film we talked about on an earlier podcast.
Right, yeah. So we certainly didn't plan this monstrous coincidence, but if you recall from the Hudson Hawk episode, there was one esteemed character in the Candy Bar Gang, Butterfinger, who's just a big old dumb lovable idiot with a sweet haircut, lots of muscles, and he does nothing right. Actually, in the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is one that I did watch in the theater, and I actually like that one. Okay, I think it's an okay movie. Butterfinger there, and gosh, I should have the actual actor's name pulled up here. I don't have it. Let me see here. Flip back to
hold on. I'll vamp for you. This is me vamping.
Oh, go vamp. Oh, that was you vamping, just breathing in once and saying 1, 2, 3 words. Andrew Brynjarski is Leatherface in that remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So imagine that. A guy that we clowned on being a really bad henchman in one movie is actually the terrifying bad guy of the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we're talking about its predecessor here today. So just a fun little 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon / Andrew Brynjarski Imagine that.
God, we should do this with each movie. We try to
Yeah.
connect the last movie to the most current one that we're reviewing. Trav, I'm going to make that your responsibility because you're really good with your Google finger.
I have a quick Google finger, and I actually think that's a great idea because we don't plan these movies in any specific order.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're grabbing them out of a bin.
But I also know, yeah, you're right. We're grabbing them out of Uncle Doug's bin. But I also know the next movie that we're going to watch, and in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way there's going to be any connection between those two movies. But I can't wait to find the 6 degrees between those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotta be there, man. Well, one thing that you also do amazingly well is to bring us some quality reviews from the common man, the man on the street,
That's
or
right.
should I say the person on the street, the person that watches this film and has an account to a website and is willing to put letter words together and put their thoughts to the posterity that is provided by the internet, and you have done that again today and brought us some pretty awesome reviews for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I like that you always introduce this segment as if you're surprised that I once again did this. But yes, I have once again assembled some reviews from Letterboxd.
Well, hold on now, Trav. Like you do a lot of podcasts, and so I'm not knocking on you here, but I'll check the show notes before we're recording, and I never see any reviews in there until it's like we're getting ready to record, and then boom, the reviews are there. And it's like, man, my boy Trav came through one more time.
Dude,
God,
I always come
love
through.
this guy.
I like this because this is content I don't have to create. I just go find. So I don't have, I just got to get some screenshots. So we break it down here every time we do one of these. People who love it, people a little meh on it, and then the people that are really low on it. And so to start with those 5 stars, so you never know what you're going to get out of those folks, especially when it comes to horror. We have 5 stars from Jesse. Just watched it this most recent St. Patrick's Day week. There, March of 2022, and just simply left a review that said, "I love his grunts." That's it. All lowercase, no punctuation at all. I love his grunts. And I assume they're talking about Leatherface, but I can't be sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of grunting. Everybody Franklin grunts, Jerry grunts, Grandpa. I think even Grandpa gets like a
He grunts
in
a little
there
bit.
every once in a while.
A little bit of grunt from him, yeah.
But I would think Leatherface too. He has the most articulated grunts. He has the most emotive grunts, and really, the plot of the film relies on his grunts to move it forward.
I agree with that. That's also the plot of My Bedroom Life. Very much my grunts. Keep it going. Okay, next we have another 5 stars from Omar from just 3 days before Jesse and his grunt lovin'. So Omar says, "So cheap it can pass off as a home movie. So raw it can pass off as a snuff film. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a horror triumph. The props, sound, and look of this movie gives a yucky hillbilly feeling. It is uneasy. Then Leatherface shows up in what is probably the best introduction of a horror villain ever. Then it all descends to hell, and when nighttime arrives, it just becomes absolutely horrifying. For real, the last 30 minutes are some of the best." So there's Omar. Yeah. Omar loved it.
Yeah, and Omar's so great he had to name himself Omar twice. I mean, that's how good he is. I would totally agree with him on especially now the version of the film that you and I viewed or screened was the 40th anniversary version of it. And maybe they'd amped some of the sound effects up, but they were so good. And I'd kind of commented on it, the incorporation of music and how it's incorporated particularly early on in the film, the sound effects, the way the chainsaw sounds is just really, really good in the kind of remastered version that they did for this film. And you know what? Speaking of yucky hillbilly feeling, Travis, I've noticed that you've lost some of the southern accent that you had the last episode.
Well, normally we spend a little bit of time around Doug when we're going through the DVD bin, and then he always leaks off on me. That's how I always describe it, like that accent of his when you're talking to Doug, and he draws out just every 4th word gets drug out. Like I get a little Doug in me. But this time around, I didn't get to spend a lot of time in his trailer when we were looking for the DVD bin because I think he too is a little bit afraid of this movie. When we pulled it out, he said, "Get on out, get."
Get on there, get. You know what I love about Doug is his accent is, if you were trying to find a physical parallel in the world, it would be like molasses slowly dripping off a table.
Yes, delicious and painfully slow.
Painfully slow, but I don't know that he knew that he was buying the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when he got this one. I thought he maybe thought it was like a how to use a chainsaw video. And he was just sadly mistaken, but he was a little meh on it, and I think there are probably some folks out there that were also a little meh on it.
Yeah, he thought it was Bob Vila home again, and when Bob Vila showed up, he got scared. But there were some people that were meh on it. There's always those folks. You just can't impress them, but you also can't tee them off too much. This is from Zinde Heart emoji. They say liked it, but expected a little more gore.
Get out, Zende, less than 3. Are you kidding me?
This was from...
There was tons of gore in this.
And they just watched this last night. This is from April 22nd, as of recording,
Holy
7 months
moly.
from now, if you're listening to this on a podcast app of your choice. But liked it, but... Now, I should say this. They misspelled expected as accepted. Liked it, but accepted a little more gore. So maybe they... I don't know what they're trying to say, maybe is what I'm getting at, but they weren't happy with the amount of gore.
I don't know, man. There was plenty of gore in this. There was blood squirting, and just like the sheer amount of Pinterest level chairs made out of human body parts was pretty gory for me. For me personally, Trav. I don't know what Zinde less than 3's home looks like, but I can't imagine they have a lot of skin furniture, which you see a lot of in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I don't know what more gore they were looking for.
I don't know. I tell you what, these young folks getting a hold of some of that new age horror, they're hard to impress with this classic horror. I tell you that. But anyway, we got a half star coming in. We got somebody low on it, someone not happy. Oh gosh, it's Malu. This is from I had to go back a ways to find a good one, because most of the time when you get through the half stars, it's just people screaming. I had to go back a ways to get somebody fairly articulate. This is a half star from September of 2019, and they spelled expected right. I expected a chainsaw massacre. One person died by chainsaw. One person. I do not consider this a massacre. Also, the screaming got so annoying, I actually considered muting the movie so I could finish watching it. But instead, I just skipped some bits. I'm very sorry. Honestly, though, this just made me sad. I expected a lot more since this movie is featured in basically every quote-unquote horror movies you must see list. I thought I'd love it, but I'm just really disappointed, ... I guess it's not for everyone.
I mean, this is definitely not for my mom. I mean, it's not for everyone if my mom can't watch it.
It's legitimately a movie made not for everyone.
Yeah, I think those movies are rated G for general. And I will agree, like this, especially that last 15 minutes of the movie where it's basically just screaming for 15 minutes straight.
Yeah,
I mean, it's horrific, but I'm also like, can we just do something else?
Yeah, it does. It does wear you down.
All right, Trav, let me tell you, this movie starts out pretty horrific and kind of gross. I mean, we're talking about a horror movie, so you sort of expect that. Well, you get these light bulb flashes, and you just see gooey chunks of meat in the beginning. You don't know what it is. Few more flash bulbs, and you go, oh, that's peoples. I'm looking at chunks of peoples. And then it cuts to, and this is one of the things that I love in the movie, like the incorporation of, the talking head, the news reporter, over the radio. And you get him sort of talking about these weird, macabre people sculptures that are popping up down there in Texas where the film is set. And of course the film is opening up on August 18th, 1973. So you see these gooey people bits, and then they show this human remains sculpture sitting on top of a gravestone, sort of a like a monument sort of thing, holding another gooey human head. It's pretty gross, and I feel like, and you and I were talking about this, I was like, you know what the Toby Hooper was doing? He was just saying, like, look, this is what you've bought a ticket for. Get out now if this is not what you signed up to see.
Yeah, you're right, because it starts out, it does look like somebody molded my cat's throw up into people. and then left it left it in the hot Texas sun. I did.
Wait, which cat?
Oh, Leonard, he's a puker. I tell you, that guy, he can't keep anything down. Oh, he's got that.
Bless his heart.
Oh, he's got the feline HIV, but yeah, that's the way that they kick it off. And like you said, because after that they go into like a scroll, like a really slow scroll scene where there's not a lot going on, just like some red black background, and we're like, man, this lasts like 4 minutes. But you made the point, and it's like it's probably people recovering from that. This is 1974. Probably people recovering from seeing that earlier bit and being like, now you have to make a decision. Are you going to sit here and deal with more of that? It's only going to get worse. Or you're going to stay seated.
I think it was 4 minutes and 40-some seconds of just opening credits with like goo and grossness. But again, what can you expect from a film that has some basis in reality, right? Like it's based on a serial killer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Ed Gein, right?
Yeah,
Trav?
Good old Eddie Gein. He was really less a serial killer as he was a grave robber, which is where a lot of this kind of comes into play here, because clearly we have some grave desecration here right out of the gate. First inning, a little bit of grave desecration. And that's what Eddie was known for. He just dug up a lot of people and made furniture out of them, which technically at the time I don't guess was much of a crime. But he also murdered 2 women, which was very much against the books there in Wisconsin. But he inspired a lot of this story for Tobe Hooper, especially when it comes to, like we talked about, a lot of that Pinterest-esque furniture that we see Leatherface and his family living around. But yeah, Ed Gein, I would say I'm going to vouch for the book that was written by Harold Schechter about Ed Gein, if you are interested at all about him. It's very good. It is called Deviant.
I just like the Mudvayne song about Ed Gein. That's it. That's the only knowledge I have of Ed Gein. Yeah, it was because I was obviously a new metal, a neo metal guy back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So that's how I know about Ed Gein, was from the Mudvayne song.
Funny story. I was listening to the audiobook of Deviant when my daughter was born. So if that gives you any indication about the life I live, I didn't even slow down on just soaking in true crime as my daughter was brought into the world.
And yet, Trav, you like cringe when there's really gross stuff on the screen, or like when pinball machines get smashed. Like I'm struggling a little bit here to figure out the psychology of Trav.
I have a human side. Come on, we've all got one.
That's true.
That's true. Very afraid of snakes. But anyway, this movie kicks off. We got Sally and her wheelchair-bound brother Franklin, and a few other folks there. We got Sally's boyfriend Jerry, their best friend Pam, Pam's boyfriend Kirk. We got a fivesome in a Scooby-Doo van running around South Texas, and they're a little bit worried about their grandfather's grave. They hear that it might have been vandalized, and they're going to travel out there and really just check it out, I guess. Maybe clean up the gravesite, show a little respect for the grandpa. But we've already opened up the scene. We've seen a memorial with some desecration atop it, so we know what's going on out there at the old graveyard. Nothing good.
Yeah, fortunately, Sally and Franklin's grandfather's grave is perfectly okay. So they decide, you know what, we're out this way. You're out there in Texas. You want to go, back to the family homestead. So they decide to head back to the old family homestead, which has been abandoned. And we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. But is in just an odd amount of disrepair for a relatively short time. I mean, Sally says it's been like she stayed there when she was 8 or 9, and she's probably early 20s in the movie. So you're like, wow, it's in this state after less than a decade. But okay, we'll go with it. So they decide to head back to the old family homestead, primarily because there's a swimming hole. And I think that's supposed to sort of keep you and I, the young male viewer, because we're definitely young, Trav, interested, because there's 2 pretty women who might go swimming. And so along the way, headed back to the old farm place, they pass a slaughterhouse, and of course that's indicated by the smell. They say, oh gosh, what is that smell? Now I don't know if you've ever been near a slaughterhouse, but it does have a very particular smell. And Franklin describes how the cattle is killed with or used to be killed with a sledgehammer, and now they sort of use an air gun, which hey, shout out to No Country for Old Men for that creepy use of the air gun and that.
I love that.
And yeah, so crazy. But shortly thereafterwards, they come across a skinny, weird-looking hitchhiker. Has kind of I don't know if it was supposed to be a burn or a
like a birthmark
on his face.
Yeah,
but they pick him up, and he, it's typical hitchhiker story. You pick them up, you think they're normal, they hop in, and you're like, oh, I got a crazy here.
Yep.
Trav, have I ever told you my story about crazy? It's not a hitchhiker story exactly, but just a crazy someone on the side of the road story.
I mean, that sounds almost like a hitchhiker. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I was, I'd been in this play, and we had a little like kind of cast party get together after the opening. I was driving home. It was super late, and I was driving by. I mean, this is a pretty main interstate here in the beautiful state of Virginia. And I'm going through just past this kind of populated area, but I'm the only car on the road, and it's super dark. And in this gravel lot by this abandoned house, I see just a body laying in the gravel road, like a red kind of parka, like down, jacket. I'm like, oh my God, someone's hurt and they need help. So I pull off the road, just maybe 15, 20 feet, however long it took for me to hit the brakes, and stop at this gravel lot to see if I can help this person. And in the movies, you always go like, oh my God, why are they picking up this hitchhiker? Why are they stopping for this? Why wouldn't they? Well, I did this, Travis. I did this. And as I went to open the door, I look in the rear view, and this person in the red parka had jumped up, and they were just running full speed at my frickin' car.
No.
Right? And I did what any red-blooded American male would do. I slammed my car door and hit that gas pedal so damn fast I nearly pulled a muscle and headed down the road, and I called the police. I was like, hey, there's this person laying by the road. When I stopped, they jumped up, and they were running at my car. You guys need to get out there and check it out. Don't know whatever came of it, but I just remember that in my nightmares sometime, this like person in a red parka charging at my car.
That is a great story. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I would have done everything that you described. I would have done. I think if I saw someone laying down and I thought honestly, if I thought someone was hurt, I might have stopped. And then when I saw them sprinting full speed toward my car after I thought they were hurt, are you kidding me? No.
It was probably not full speed. It was probably like a drunk person who had like passed out and their boyfriend kicked him out of the car or whatever. But I didn't mention that it was also a woman that was charging in my car either.
I mean, that still, I'm out of there. Screw that. Fool me once, shame on you. Whatever George Bush said. Fool me a bunch. I'm mad. I'm out of here.
I'm hitting the gas pedal on this car. I'm getting out of here, boy. And that's what I did. Of course, I was driving like a early '90s pickup, so it was like.
She just jumps in the bed of the truck. That's like the worst. That's the worst vehicle to be driving when someone's chasing behind you trying to get you.
Like you needed a tailwind to get uphill in this thing, but I somehow managed to get away. But I didn't want to get too far off the path here, so they definitely pick up a hitchhiker, and it turns out poorly. Now he hops in the car. He's erratic, says sort of weird things. Now, Franklin, who is the individual who is in the wheelchair, he takes a picture of him, and then he burns the picture.
Yeah. Well, he takes a picture of Franklin, to be clear. This guy has a camera and snaps a picture of Franklin. Yeah. Which is weird. It's just weird that the hitchhiker would have any technology on him, because he seems like someone who literally just came out of a tree and got into a van.
And you said he has like pretty nice, clean, straight teeth. And Trav, you were like, his teeth don't fit his lifestyle, which I thought was a pretty excellent point in this case. And so he gets this picture of Franklin after he divulges he recently was laid off from his job at the slaughterhouse because they switched to the air guns, and he wasn't able to smash the animals in the head with a hammer anymore, which obviously he's very upset about.
Bummed.
When Frank, which work's work, I guess, but so after he takes this picture of Franklin, he gets angry and sets the photo on fire, and then he takes out a straight razor from his boot, and then he cuts Franklin and cuts himself. Oh, he cuts himself with Franklin's knife. Isn't that what happens, Travis?
Yeah, he cuts himself with Franklin's knife. And he does so in a very maniacally kind of cackling way while everyone just kind of stares at him like, bro, you really doing this right now? And I will say, up until now, like, some of the acting has been a little off and the vibe has been strange. So we had that opener with the gravesite, which was a real mood setter, like, oh, this is going to be gory. But ever since we've seen the people on the screen, it's felt a little bit like a Scooby-Doo cartoon in this van until this bro starts cutting his hand. And then you're like, okay, everybody's just a little bit off. Everybody's a little bit weird. And this guy's clearly demonstrating that he's not afraid to slice into a little bit of skin with his old knife here. So it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little weirded out.
Reasonably so. They kick him out of the van. They're like, hey, man, we need you to get out of here. Well, he's got this bloody wound on his hand and a little bit of old Franklin blood, so he sort of smears it on the side of the van and something that looks vaguely like a pattern. Now, they head on down the road. Obviously, they're wanting to get out of there and leave this guy in the dust. Well, they're running out of fuel because they're driving like a 1970s Dodge van. And let me tell you, the MPG on those weren't great. So they pull over at a gas station and try to fill up. And they run into the gas station proprietor, and he says, hey, look, I'm out of gas. I'm waiting for the tanker to show up. Sorry about that. But, I got some good barbecue inside. You guys want to come check that out? And they say, nah, I'm headed to the old home place. And he says, whoa, hold on now. I don't know if you want to head on out there. People around these parts don't take kindly to you just showing up at their property.
Don't they end up actually getting a barbecue sandwich? Don't they buy something?
I don't think. You know what? I think Franklin, because he has this weird sausage hanging out of his mouth.
I think he
later
bought,
in the film.
Yeah, that's it. He bought something. He bought a little something there. There was a cash transaction with somebody. But at any rate, Franklin, he's already had his arm mutilated a little bit earlier, and now he's just chomping down on a sausage like it's going to heal him up. We head on down the road, and right there you're thinking, well, that guy who's selling them sandwiches, a little weird, but what a friendly guy, giving us a bit of a warning there, and selling us some road meat. You got to appreciate a guy like that. He's probably a great dude.
He probably is. The film opens early on with a dead armadillo in the road, so I'm just imagining he's having some barbecued armadillo, which, let me tell you, if you want to eat some armadillo, it can be right tough, so you're going to want to smoke that meat for a while and get some of the fat rendered out of it. But anyway, Sally and Pam, they get to the house, and Sally and Pam and everybody basically wants to go check out the abandoned house. Now, of course, we have to mention Franklin, who is in a wheelchair. He has some difficulty, so they sort of leave him outside as the two couples are kind of exploring the house. And there's a scene where he, of course, has the sausage in his mouth. And you know what, man? I kind of dogged on Franklin because I think he's sort of a weirdo and kind of a jerk in the movie. Like he just, always comes in out of left field with some kind of jerky comments. But I'm going to give it to him here, man. When he was trying to get up onto the porch after everybody had left him outside in the hot sun, he chucked that sausage down and he fought his way to get up onto that porch with that, and I was impressed. I was impressed with his stick-to-itiveness.
He really put in the effort. He had a little bit of a meltdown halfway there, but he pulled through. And
he got it.
Couldn't be more proud of Franklin for his trip inside to this home. It might have been the most heartwarming part of the movie. It was a real, what was it that movie with where the USA guys beat the Russian guys on Miracle on? It was a real Miracle on Ice.
They get Franklin gets into the old house, and he has a little bit of a meltdown, as you mentioned. He's sort of wheeling around, and Pam and Kirk come downstairs, and they ask for directions to the swimming hole that Franklin had mentioned. He says, well, you just follow the path out back and you'll get there. And they sort of, as younger folk will do, winked and said, it'll be about an hour. And bang, bang, bang,
I
bang.
know.
I'm pretty sure that Pam is planning on giving Kirk the business, if you know what I mean.
Perhaps, yeah.
But that's the least creepy thing we find, because Franklin turns his wheelchair around and he sees on the porch, while he's been exploring this house, someone has put weird animal parts almost in a ritualistic manner upon the porch, as well as hanging a weird bone wind chime on the doorway, which, well, let's just say is a little off-putting.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like I see those bone wind chimes all the time nowadays, but back in the 70s, maybe no one had thought to do it. You should suspect that it's maybe human bones. I don't know, but Pam and Kirk go out for their, I'm going to say, I'm going to laugh a little bit, 1 hour romp. I mean, come on. 1 hour? What are you? It's the hot Texas sun. Get in and out 5 minutes, get under a tree, cool off. But anyway, they're
5 minutes, Trav. That's time for cuddling too.
Oh, well, okay, 8 minutes. But while Kirk and Pam are trying to find a good place to really just pound it out in that Texas heat, Kirk hears the faint sound of a generator out in the distance, and by gosh, I tell you what, that van needs a little bit of gas. That's why we stopped at that gas station earlier anyway. We got to get a little bit of gas, or we're not going to get anywhere. And so he hears that gas generator out there, and he's like, man, we could go find that generator, maybe barter for a little bit of gasoline. That might be a good idea. Let's follow the sound of the generator and go talk to the people that own such a thing and see if they'll give us a little bit of gasoline for our old van. That sounds like a great idea. I was horned up, and now I'm just fueled with smartness. I'm so smart.
Which I'm gonna cry foul here. There ain't no young 20-year-old who's gonna give up a chance to take old Pam down to the river for a little swimming, and then he's gonna go, oh, you know what we need is gas from. You know what though, guys do have weird relationships with their cars, so maybe he would say, you know what. My van is number one in my heart, so maybe it needs some gas. But he heads on up to the creepy farmhouse where the generator is running, and he finds a human tooth on the porch. And instead of doing what you or I would do, Trav, which is step on the gas of that early 90s Toyota pickup and just wheeze your way down the road and try to get away, he says, nah, I'm going to use it to scare Pam. Ha ha ha. Funny joke. Now I'm just going to head on in the door of this farmhouse after I get no answer while knocking. Well, it doesn't work out so well for him because he walks in. Pam says, hey, I'm just going to conveniently go sit over here where I can't hear any of the murder that's about to happen in this house. And so he heads in, and he hears sort of strange animal noises. Now, I'm not sure if at this point Leatherface is actually killing a pig or if he's just making these noises because he thinks it's going to lead Kirk further into the house. We don't really know, and it doesn't really matter because Kirk walks up to the sort of ramped area where he sees animal skins everywhere. He's getting all the red flags. Now, Travis, I know you and I both been married for a while, but we both dated, and we've been there. We've seen all the red flags, but we just keep on going. Well, this is what Kirk does. He just sees all the red flags, and he keeps on going. He walks into this doorway with a little ramp. He sees skulls, and then that's when you get the biggest reveal. I'm gonna say it's the biggest. It's bigger than Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
It's bigger than Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You get Leatherface's reveal. He walks out and whoop, pop, hits Kirk with that hammer and drops him. Boom, he's to the ground, and then he whack as Kirk is having some seizures, hits him again and drags him into the murder chamber and closes that big metal door. Ooh, Trav, so creepy, man.
It's so good. And what I like about it is that, you mentioned Jaws and Michael Myers, and I do like those movies quite a bit, but they build up the tension in a very immediate way with like a very sudden scenario with a music build up where you almost expect it. But we've been having this long, almost, I'm going to say like reveal blue balls in this movie for a long time. People have been walking through a scary house. We were in another scary house walking through it. Nothing happened. We had Franklin by himself. We had a crazy guy enter the van. We've had all these opportunities for really any jump scare to happen. But they kind of wait until you've kind of almost given up as you're like, all right, well, I guess he'll show up when he shows up. And then out of nowhere, comes out with the hammer and a nice, I'm going to say just the sound, the wet, moist, brain crushing flock of the hammer hitting the. I know, and no like tense music to kind of telegraph when it was going to happen. It's very sudden, and you're like. And it's, I don't know, I think that made it a little bit more rewarding. I love a good sound design in a horror movie, but I think sometimes breaking away from that and just having that sort of, that home movie feel really does add an element of terror. And I think it paid off there for sure.
Yeah, we were talking about that. It's like Leatherface, everybody remembers him for his chainsaw work, which was good. But, man, I'll tell you what, that guy was a Jose Canseco with a daggone melon.
He really was, man. Whack-a-mole, are you kidding me? He's a state champ.
Well, Pam is still outside. She doesn't hear any of this murder, and so she becomes restless when she, obviously doesn't have Kirk return. She doesn't know what's going on. She says, "You know what? I'm going to walk into this creepy house as well."
She's the most blues balled of all of them. She's been dying for some action. Come on.
She is, and there's this beautiful shot too that's from sort of almost like her ankle height that like shoots up her body. Obviously, she's a beautiful woman. You're seeing that from behind, but she's walking to this creepy house. It's this sort of not often used angle, so it's sort of off-putting, and it gives this total creepy vibe. Total iconic shot from the film as she's walking up. But I want to point out, and this is something that hits me, is she's walking by a Persian silk tree, also known as sometimes we call it colloquially a mimosa tree, which is an invasive species.
Oh my God.
And I think that is more horrific than any of the murders. I hate an invasive species, particularly a plant invasive species, particularly wisteria, which is an absolute monster to get rid of.
Man.
Spoken as someone who lives on a property with a lot of invasive species that I've had to remove. Now,
all these
all
these chainsaws around, you're like, there's the victim right there. Get that guy. Get the tree. That's who you need to be.
Beautiful trees. They're beautiful trees, wonderful smelling blooms on them, but they're totally invasive, so, get rid of them. But Trav, no one has signed up for this podcast to hear about invasive plant species, so let's talk about the murder. So she walks in, she sees these weird sort of sculptures, and yet she sort of keeps going. She stumbles into a room, falls down, and it's just chicken feathers everywhere, which I've got to imagine. I don't know a lot about chicken feathers, but I got to think there's some diseases that come with just a carpet made of chicken feathers. She starts seeing furniture adorned with human skulls. The floor has got like bits of bone, and then they do a nice job of like progressively making the bone more human as the shot sort of pans up to see the human furniture, and then boom, out comes Leatherface, and he grabs her. They're sort of struggling. He picks her up, carries her back into the murder room, and just hangs her on this meat hook.
Yeah,
which is just absolutely disturbing and off-putting because she's still alive. Like, she's just got a hook in her back. She's completely cognizant. She knows what's going on. She's in a lot of pain, and she sees Leatherface chopping up old Kirk's body with a chainsaw. Like, just putting yourself in that mental perspective for me is one of the more horrific parts of the film.
That's right. And that hook, if you're an Ed Gein head, as they say, if you don't, please do not Google Ed Gein crime scene photos, but I will say the hook, a real part of Ed Gein's story. And so nice touch by Toby Hooper to toss that in there, because that is a very visceral scene in the movie, and maybe even one of the more memorable ones, to be honest with you. We end up going through, tons of chase scenes and murder scenes and chainsaw scenes, but that one right there, I think that stuck with a lot of people. Just getting plopped right down on a hook while you're still alive. Holy smokes.
But I'm telling you, that's going to stick with me for a long time. I'm actually, as we go through this plot and talk about it, I think I'm converting over to Team Kevin's mom. I think that she's right to be completely revulsed by this movie. But back at the original, the abandoned farmhouse, it was like Sally and Franklin's sort of family homestead. They're starting to wonder, hey, where did Pam and Kirk go? That's weird. And the sun's starting to set. So Jerry, who is Sally's boyfriend, he's sort of the curly-haired hippie. I had a little trouble remembering characters' names in this, so I did take some notes. And according to my notes, he's the curly-haired hippie fella. He heads in the direction that they had sort of headed out. He also hears the gas generator, and he says, well, hey, that's pretty cool. He sees the blanket that Kirk and Pam had taken with them on the front porch, and he says, oh, well, they must be here. Let me just head on in again without knocking or announcing myself. So he might have announced himself, but no one answered, so he just heads on in to the kitchen, and he's starting to get some bad impressions. He at least notices there's some red flags. Now, that doesn't stop him, but he just keeps on going. He sees some skulls, some of the same stuff that Pam and Kirk did, and he hears a banging coming from the freezer in the kitchen. Now, again, the kitchen has meat hooks and a butcher block all kinds of creepy stuff. So he goes over to the freezer. He opens it up. Pam is in there.
Hey, Pam.
She's near death. Pam.
Hey, Pam, how you doing in here?
Hey. I'm not doing so good. It's cold in here, and I'm about dead.
Are you trying to hide or something? Can I get in? Scoot over.
That's Ollie oxen free. So he sees Pam. She sort of jumps up, has this weird, scary moment, and then, of course, Leatherface comes out. Jose Canseco's him, boom, with the mallet, drops him right there in the floor, and goes back over to make sure Pam is going to be in the freezer. And then he sort of looks around and he goes,
"Uh-oh.
Hey, wait a minute. Where did that Jerry go?" And now that you and I are going through this plot, I don't remember if Jerry ever turns back up.
That's a really good point. I don't know that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what we'll have to think about it.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna vamp. I'm gonna keep going through the plot a little bit here, and you Google what happens to Jerry, because he doesn't come back. You don't see him murdered, because the next thing that happens is at nightfall, Sally and Franklin, you see them sort of arguing about what they should do next. Obviously, they don't have the gas to go anywhere in the van. Jerry took the keys, so they're sort of stuck there, and so Franklin is refusing. He doesn't want to be left by himself. So he convinces Sally to take him in his wheelchair along the path through the woods to see if they can go down to the old swimming place to find out where everybody is. Well, before they get there, they hear the sound of the generator, same thing, so they sort of head in that direction. I swear that generator, man, if you're running low on gas, is like a moth to the flame. Well, this is the for me, I think the most startling part of the film, and the part that when my mom talked about it is the most disturbing for her. Leatherface just comes out of nowhere and just has at Franklin with that chainsaw, cuts him right up the middle. I mean, does some serious chainsaw work there. And then, I mean, from what I can tell, just proceeds on about maybe 20 to 30 minute chase with Sally. They kind of head through all these thorny areas, these overhanging branches, overgrown areas. She ends up in the murder house where Leatherface lives with his family. She sees Grandpa, who we don't know at this point is still alive. Grandma, she literally jumps out of a window and takes off running, and just, it's this crazy long chase sequence that they don't even bother to, like, if you watch a modern movie, a lot of the ups and downs in a chase scene, there's going to be emotional beats in there. This is just high octane. Dude is chasing Sally with a chainsaw the whole time, and it is super duper intense. Now, Trav, I've vamped a lot. You got anything for me on Jerry?
All of my sources here are saying, Kev, reporting in live. All of my sources here say that Jerry actually died on impact. What we see Leatherface experiencing there in the moment is just a frustration that people keep entering his home. So when he's frantically searching around, he's like, what's going on? Why are all these people showing up? I need to get out of here and go find out what's happening.
Oh, that makes so much more sense. Although, does it? Because
I don't know. It does look like he's searching for Jerry. When he turns, because he's killed Jerry, he looks in there, he's like, Pam, get back in here. Shuts the freezer, and he turns around, and it looks like he has this realization that, like, oh no, the guy I just clubbed, gone. Which is a bad day at the office for him. That's not good.
I wonder if there's a behind-the-scenes thing there that, like, Tobe Hooper's never owned up to. He's like, oh, I totally forgot about what happened to Jerry.
It is a little confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that doesn't really matter. So, well, I mean, it obviously matters to you and I because we've spent a significant portion of this podcast talking about it, but it didn't matter to Tobe Hooper or moviegoers or us until literally this very second. I've seen this movie probably 10 times, and I've never considered, again, I've never had to analyze the plot either, but I've never considered, like, what happened to Jerry?
It mattered to Jerry, okay?
Yeah, I guess it did.
But yeah, poor Jerry's dead. And to go back to that scene a little bit, because we do, the chase sequence is a big part of the movie, and not a lot of plot really develops during that point in time. But it is funny to me watching Leatherface, because he's a very imposing force when he appears on screen, and there for those few minutes where he's popping people on hooks and stuff like that. But then when he has this little breakdown where we thought looking for Jerry, but is also flustered, when he's scooting around his living room trying to get himself together, he couldn't look more pathetic. I was like, is that Ned Beatty wearing a Carol Burnett mask? What is going on with that? But then he breaks out into a full sprint with a chainsaw and chases poor Sally for 30 straight minutes. So I'm eating my crow, but holy crap.
But Sally, now she has eluded Leatherface. She ends up back at the gas station that they were at earlier. Now, I was a little fuzzy on the geography here because it seemed like they drove a long ways after they left the gas station, and somehow she ends up back at it. But you know what? Again, that doesn't matter. And she heads into the gas station, and she runs into the old man that runs the gas station again. Now, I say old man, but this guy was probably in his 50s. And as I get closer to 50, I go, I don't like calling people in their 50s old men. But we're going to, at this point, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything because I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this movie, but we're just going to start calling him Papa. Papa has this weird moment with Sally where he rubs her face because he's trying to calm her down for some reason, which immediately gave me the skeeves. And he's like, hold on, I'll take you somewhere safe. Let me go get my truck. Well, while he's out there, Sally notices the smoke pit, which is, from what I can tell, he's just got a cubby in the wall where he's making his barbecue, and she's staring at it. And it's looking awfully like human parts are in there, not animal parts. They're regular old people parts in there. And she's sort of staring at it. And that's when the old man comes back in. And she's kind of caught on to what's going on. So she grabs a knife and she says, hey, you back up. I don't trust you. Well, I don't know how he does it, but Papa must have rolled a nat 20 with his dice because he somehow manages to subdue Sally using a broom.
He got her.
He got her, and he ties her up and gets her conscious somehow. I don't know how, but ties her up.
He's a pro,
and puts a gunny sack over her. Yeah.
He's a pro. Absolutely, he's a pro. And it's also you should catch on at this point that the chainsaw that we'd been hearing, kind of muffled by her endless screaming for 20 minutes during that chase, suddenly stops when she pops into that gas station. She's got to be thinking, because he left with the door open to go get the truck. Well, this would be a great time for the chainsaw guy just barge in here and just slice me on up.
And then he does it. That's probably why she gets suspicious. I'd be suspicious if the chainsaw guy just, because he obviously don't care. I feel like he would kill a gas station.
I know.
Owner.
Plus, the gas station guy comes back with a sack and a smile on his face, which to me is a dead giveaway every time.
Totally. And we were, this is just how Trav and I watch a movie, but we're looking in the background on the shelves in the gas station. Like, man, he's got an awful lot of pickled okra back there. And boy, he's just storing his ranch dressing at room temperature in Texas. That don't seem safe. Yeah. But he does it.
Room temperature in Texas will cook a pizza in Virginia. So you don't want to leave your ranch dressing out.
Exactly. But they're tougher out there in Texas than we are here in Virginia, so I'll give them that. But he loads her up in the truck, takes her back home. He picks up, you remember that hitchhiker with the weird maybe burn, maybe birthmark. We're not exactly sure what it is. Yeah. Picks him up. Turns out that's his son. Turns out his other son is Leatherface. And so they tie Sally to a chair inside the house. Obviously, he takes her back to the murder house. Turns out he's Papa. Right, these are his kids.
Yep.
So they tie her up to this chair. Now, I did want to point out that the chair they tie her to, the arms of the chair are literal human arms. I don't know if that's supposed to be funny or not.
It was pretty funny.
By golly gee, I found it funny for sure.
There is a part of this movie, and I think it's about here, where the tension is almost completely off. For some reason, I felt like, okay, because now it is almost comedy. Now you're just seeing these demented hill folk mess with this, woman that's screaming at the top of her lungs, and some part of me just wanted them to make her stop screaming. So I was like, get whatever you got to do, boys. Let's get her done.
Could you just do the murdering now? And that's a weird thing to mention, but it's totally true. And you and I both do the improv comedies, but there are a lot of parallels between comedy and horror, and that's something that Jordan Peele has just been able to exploit so well in his films. gosh, do I love his movies, and I'm super looking forward to. Maybe by the time this podcast is out, that his next movie is out.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about that. But he's really good at kind of walking that fine line between kind of comedy and horror, and this film also does that. Now, Sally sort of kind of passes out, I guess, in horror. Well, when she comes to, the family has her set at a table. At this point, she's passed out. She wakes up. The family, which includes Papa, Leatherface, Hitchhiker, and Grandpa, are sort of all sitting at the table having a meal of meats from mysterious origin. Now, Trav, you're the video game guy. I know right off the top of your head you're going to know the parallel that compares to this film to a video game. What is it?
Well, you threw me for a loop there, but I was just going to comment there's not a lot of green on their plate, but you're...
Not a lot of fiber in that diet.
Not a lot of fiber in that diet. I don't know. What are you getting at here with just a meat plate?
Sonic the Hedgehog. No, it was actually Resident Evil.
Oh, Resident Evil 7.
Biohazard.
Of course. Yeah, the demented family. It does strike some parallels. When you get the whole family together, they're not any better than they are separated.
They really aren't. So they definitely. I don't know if it was an homage, if it was a spoof, it was a parody, or just pulled some inspiration from.
Yeah.
But that scene from that game is definitely a part of this film. So they're having this sort of weird dinner, and our review earlier, and I can't remember if it was Omar that said this or if it was a different reviewer, but they had said that there was just this extended portion of screaming. Well, this is where it happens, and I can't fault Sally here. I mean, I would scream a lot if there was some weird old man sucking on my finger after they cut it for the blood.
Man.
That was pretty gross.
That was gross, but
scene.
that is, and when I said this when we watched it, but somebody rewinds that part a lot because it does have this very fetishy feel to it. This just old guy just sopping, just making the noise and real into it, just sopping the blood off the end of her finger, to the point that it made my stomach turn more than any other part of the movie. I was like, ugh, really? For real? That guy? Oh, it got me pretty good.
And I'll impress you with my IMDb skills. That guy who played Grandpa in that was actually a very young guy. They just put a weird skin mask on him to make him look like an old guy in that film. So there you go. But we get through all that, and they're having the big sort of dinner scene, and they get into this conversation about how great Grandpa was back in the day and it's sort of left ambiguous, at least in my mind, if not yours, Trav, but whether they're talking about Grandpa was good at killing animals at the slaughterhouse or if he was good at killing people with the sledgehammer. Either way, they decide to let Grandpa try to take a whack at old Sally and end her existence and dispatch her. So they get out a galvanized bucket and they sort of set it down, and they keep trying to get the hammer in Grandpa's hand, and he's taking these swings at Sally and sort of, I think he whacks her and does a pretty nasty hit. Hitchhiker is getting frustrated with the situation. He tries to grab the hammer from Grandpa. Sally sees her opportunity and breaks free, and again takes off running and hurls herself out a window and lands outside. Again, time is fluid in this movie as
it's
it is
daylight,
in a lot of movies. It's daylight, so apparently either they're having dinner at like 4 a.m. I don't know exactly.
Late breakfast,
but either
maybe.
way,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's breakfast. You're right.
I gotta say,
he's been
though,
running the gas station all night.
I mean, Grandpa, as decrepit as he is, he's either 128 years old or human meat will age a 70-year-old that bad. But he is really phoning it in with that hammer. And I think you're right. I think it is supposed to give Grandpa the feeling of the old days when he used to really just lop the heads off the cattle with his old sledgehammer. But, man, he just looks, I mean, it's like watching, Judge Mills Lane today with a gavel. Just real weak, doesn't have it anymore. Just phoning it, just a wet noodle of a slap, which it would have taken him all day to kill her that way. I understand the hitchhiker's frustration.
Trav, did you just bring a reference from a daytime like People's Court-esque judge into this podcast and make me snort? Is that what just happened? I just snorted with laughter, bud.
You got it, man. Anytime, yeah. I mean, it was either that or Ed Koch. I didn't know which one to go on, but that would have gotten me frustrated too. But she got away. She sprinted outside. And by the way, when she busts through this window. She jumped so hard, not only did it turn daylight, she was 18 feet from the house. She Carl Lewis'd right out of that window into a different time. It was a pretty impressive jump.
Sally does, in fact, jump out of that window 20 feet from the house, and then somehow she's 4 feet from the house, and there's a road, but there's not a road. Little bit of
continuity crisis.
Less than continuity, in this scene, but doesn't really matter. So out come the two brothers, the hitchhiker and Leatherface, and they're chasing Sally down the driveway. Well, there's a truck. Now, I don't know if you're paying attention to this, Trav. That truck, what kind of truck was it? What cargo did that truck carry?
Oh, good thing you asked. I know it was hauling ass.
Well, it was actually a cattle truck. It actually, you can tell by the shape of the box, and it had the grates for supposedly the animals to breathe as they're headed to the slaughterhouse. So now this truck was headed to that slaughterhouse, or returning, I should say, from that slaughterhouse, because it was in fact empty. So that's an interesting, another, again, just a little nod to the sort of humans as meat theme that we find in this movie. Well, what happens is the hitchhiker is trying to sort of grab Sally and finds himself in front of this large semi as it basically just, and it's sort of like that Austin Powers scene where the steamroller is heading towards the guy and he just keeps standing there, and he's got like 45 minutes to move, but for some reason he doesn't.
Exactly.
Well, that's exactly what happens in this scene, and the truck driver runs over this guy. Well, he hops out and he sees Sally running away from Leatherface. And he's like, "Oh, well, there's some bad crap going down here. Get in the truck, Sally." So they hop up in the truck. They close the door. He grabs his trusty. Now, again, I'm not one to question film logic, but I'm not entirely sure why a truck driver has a pipe wrench. Now, maybe there's a truck driver out there that's like, "Oh, we actually use that to tighten the trailers down," or something along those lines. Doesn't make any difference to me, but this truck driver has a pipe wrench in his truck, and he hops out, and there's sort of, again, he decides not to drive away for some reason. Don't know why. Decides not
Sally
to.
kind of starts it. She jumps in the driver's side, scoots all the way across, jumps out the passenger side, and then I feel like the truck driver's like, "That seems like a good idea. I guess I'll do that too." He just followed her lead.
Trav, buddy, I love you. Okay, you're one of my boys. I think a lot of you. But if you hopped in my semi and there's a murderer outside with a chainsaw and you decide to jump outside, bud, I've done the best I can for you. I'm leaving. I'm hitting the gas pedal. I'm heading down the road. I'm leaving you behind, just like I would in my wheezy 1990s era Toyota pickup if you were running at me with a red Parka. Well, he doesn't do that. He hops out and he's trying to, I don't know if he's trying to run away. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he ends up chucking this pipe wrench at Leatherface, whacks him in the head.
Oh, yeah.
Leatherface falls down and cuts his own leg with the chainsaw. Now, you and I did a little IMDb of this truck driver. Turns out, man, this guy's still around. Yeah. He's out there. He's doing things.
He's on the circuit.
Yeah, he's on the circuit. He goes to like horror movie conventions, and he brings the pipe wrench with him, which is super cool. But he takes off down the road. He heads off down the road. Another truck comes over the hill just as Leatherface is sort of getting back up. Sally hops in the back of the truck. Leatherface is chasing it, just swinging that chainsaw around. Forget OSHA compliance. He's super dangerous, but he's swinging it around because, you know, he just don't give an F. And, I mean, Sally starts doing this weird, like, and I've been there where you've been, like, so upset, so stressed out, so scared, you just sort of start laughing. And sort of Sally does that, giggling as Leatherface swings this chainsaw as she rides down the road in this truck to get away, and we fade to the credits. That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're keeping counts, everyone in the I guess the madhouse is still around. You know, we didn't lose Pop. We didn't lose the hitchhiker. We didn't lose Leatherface.
No, you lost
obviously.
Hitchhiker.
Oh yeah,
Leatherface is still around.
He got
Pop is still around, and Grandpa is still around.
Grandpa, not long for us, but Pop and Leatherface are still around. So I mean, there's only so much satisfaction there, and I like that. I like that they didn't make a big deal out of killing the bad guy, because you know when that happens, nothing good ever comes of any sequel. When that happens, I mean, you always have to, you know, you got your Friday the 13th and your Halloweens. I mean, I love those franchises, but at some point they just become superheroes. Whereas Leatherface, still very human, but also still very alive. So I like that. I like that it leaves that ambiguous. The next person that wanders that way is also going to meet that same fate. It's not really a happy ending.
No. I mean, we're glad Sally got away. We feel
good
bad
for her.
about what happened to everybody else. Good for her, but I mean, anybody else that wanders into that den of murder. I will say too, and this is just calling back some different stuff that we didn't touch on as we were going through the plot, but I sort of made some jokes about how the hitchhiker had to be the younger son, because it seemed like Dad, you know, laid the beating on, or the more harsh punishment on Leatherface, who must be the older son. It's like, gosh, the younger one always gets away with everything. You know what I'm saying, Trav?
Oh man, it's so true. And I mean, when you're really hard on the older son, that's where he starts wearing your wife's face and carrying a chainsaw around and being really emo about everything and listening to Slipknot. So that makes sense.
Good for Leatherface though, man. I mean, you know, fronting Slipknot is no small feat.
You're right. To be around that long with that many dudes, I can't get along with that many dudes. So I mean, good for them. and I think, what is there, like 9 dudes in Slipknot, and they're from Iowa. They're like a whole like electoral vote in Iowa. But I think another fun thing to harp on the IMDb here for a second. A lot of folks that listen to my other podcasts know I'm into games, and Edwin Neal, who plays the younger brother, plays the hitchhiker in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, has actually voiced some video game characters, believe it or not, and has done so recently, and even in some films as well. He was Dr. Robotnik in Sonic Rebuilt, and he was one of the Marines in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and he's got a few more. So I just think that's really interesting. I don't know why I think that's interesting. I think it's just cool when my universes collide, I guess, but pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre had an incredibly small budget. I mean, even for the time, they filmed it and produced it for $140,000, which, you know, to you and me, Trav, that's a lot of money, but in Hollywood, that ain't nothing. And this legendary slasher flick went on to gross $30 million at the box office and become one of the most iconic horror films of all time. I mean, you just can't say enough about how much this movie is iconic or has influenced other directors in the genre. And like to this day, it's kind of like matter-of-fact violence and no nonsense approach to everything has been incorporated, utilized, parodied even, and it's just an amazing part of the genre. And the IP has spawned numerous sequels, reboots, comic books, video games, action figures, and merchandise of all kinds. It's just like there's a whole market of people, and I might even be one of them, that just goes out and buys a Leatherface action figure. Can you? I mean, I am totally not crapping on anybody out there who has a Leatherface action figure. And it's just hard to find a more iconic horror film than this one, which is to this day still capable of raising the hairs on the back of your neck, or even Travis, ruining a family's Christmas.
Man, and it sure did. I mean, you think it's probably ruined a lot of family nights for people, which I think is a testament to how good the movie is. I can't imagine watching this back in the day. I mean, there's no precedent for a film like this. There's sure gore had been set and all this other stuff. I mean, people had even read about Ed Gein up to that point, but this movie, for the day, I'm sure it scared the bridges off of people. Because even to this day, leave the hook scene and some of the reveals are still really well done. We're talking 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Yeah. This movie is still killing it. So, man, Toby Hooper really knocked it out of the park on that first try. Good job, Tobe.
Yeah, Trav, I'm still over here cringing about some of the stuff, and not even the treatment of Franklin and not having enough wheelchair ramps in South Texas during the time. Just a lot of really terrible. Gosh, man, but geez, it's so good. There's so many good, and even thinking about like how sound and music is incorporated in the film, particularly early on, that van scene, the Scooby-Doo portion of the film, as we were kind of saying, like the way they kind of have music incorporated in it in sort of the background as if it's playing on the radio, and how it kind of adds to the tension of some of the scenes. Like this was what, Tobe Hooper's first movie, at least first big movie, and it's so good and so well done. Just really super impressive and super iconic, even to this day.
It is wonderful, and I'm glad we watched it, Kev. Good choice for the old podcast. Way to just randomly yank that one out of the old bin.
You know what? I gotta shout out Doug. Doug always knows what's best. That guy has got. And, I've probably got another, 600 DVDs in this bin? I mean, you and I will be long gone, and our progenies will be taking over this podcast.
I know.
To cover all the movies that this guy has amassed over his, incredibly interesting life.
I know, man. We have to get into Uncle Doug's 4K bin at some point, but until then, DVDs will have to do.
Well, if you like what just happened, you might like our other shows. Now, for more of Travis, head over to polymedianetwork.com and check out his other podcasts. And if you like me, I mean, hey, I'm not terrible. I'm not great, but I'm not terrible. Check out the podcast Blue Peg, Pink Peg. And we want to thank our good pal, Harvest Black. Man, that guy, him and his music is just knock it out of the park. More than Tobe Hooper with a sledgehammer. Man, that guy, just fantastic. And we want to thank him for doing our theme song. It really bumps. And we also obviously want to thank you, our dear listeners, for checking out the podcast, downloading. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. Oh wait, that's a YouTube thing, isn't it? You should definitely subscribe.
You can.
100%. Give us a review on your platform of choice. Hop on over to the Patreon. Travis, tell me a little bit about the Patreon.
Yeah, you can hop over there at the patreon.com/polykill. Find a tier that works for you there. We got a Discord you can hop into. We got a few ways you can support our shows here on the network if you want to. Get involved, participate, hang out. So take a peek over there, see what works for you. Help us out. Help you out.
Man, that Patreon is where it's at. There's some super cool people on there, and that Discord is pretty awesome. I gotta shout out to all those fine folks over there. But I think that brings us to an end here, Travis. And just like our Uncle Doug always says,
the events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history: the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.